Spirit Island Sunday, lightning swift strike for 2. Hi guys, welcome to Spirit Island Sunday. Today we'll be talking about lightning swift strike. Now let's first go over a little bit on the board over here. We'll be starting on the highest level sands. The special rule is for every purple that we have or play, we can use a slow action as a fast action. So that gives us a lot of options with the starting hand because each card is going to have a purple. So that's going to give our option of, do we want to play this card before or after the invader turn, which is actually very beneficial. Now let's talk about the growth a little bit. Of course, we have the classic reclaim power cards. So once you use them, you can reclaim all your cards, gain a power card, and gain 1 energy. Kind of lackluster, but the problem is you just don't have a lot of good cards to start off with that are really low energy and easy to play. Our next thing that we can do for growth is apply 2 of our presences on the board. Now this is big, so we can reinforce 1, or we can immediately put 2 onto 1. It's really nice to be able to put 2 presents out on the board every turn. It can really start to get that growth. Now, the last option is just 1 presence and 3 energy. We do have 2 cards in our hand that cost 2 energy and 1 that costs 3. We can be a little bit energy starved as we don't start getting the 3 energy until we at least place 4 presents on the board. So it kind of gets that tough. This card, Raging Storm, is a little bit tough to play, especially off the bat, unless we want to play some of these add 1 presence, 3 energy. That can be a slow grow to make sure we keep our energy for the game. However, it's tough to balance this character. We want to be able to grow fast, so we can also play cards. We can start by playing 2 cards. And we can definitely ramp up pretty quick. Each time we put a presence on the card plays row, we can play an extra card for the turn. And now let's talk about the innate powers. The innate powers, since we can have some of those presents, maybe the first thing we want to do is immediately put 2 presents on a space 2 places away, so we can start using these innate powers. The innate powers are pretty neat, but at a minimum, you're going to need to be able to play 3 cards a turn. And that's kind of the tough part about this deck, is the very beginning, the lightning swift strike. You want to be able to get rid of some of these things. Some of the single invaders so they don't grow, some of the towns, right off the bat. You're going to want to come out of the gate swinging. Is the other person maybe grows up a little bit. So let's go a little bit more into the cards. So one of the starting cards we have is Harbingers of the Lightning. So this is a slow power, and once again it can be fast because it does have a purple on it. We can use it 1 space away from any one of our presents, and we're able to push 2 to hand. So this is really nice, and just the ability to move some of these to hand around the board at a slow or fast speed. You have a little bit of control for these. Now it does cost 0, which is awesome. This can be a really good buffer to not have to spend any energy, low energy round that you want to spend. So it's really neat to be able to push these to hand where you want to. And pushing 2 is pretty good. It can do 4 damage. It can sustain a little bit, but it has some pretty good output. Now, if you do push it onto a land with invaders, specifically a city or a town, then you do get a fear token. Next, we have Lightning's Boon. This boon is an innately fast power, and this is just an aid to somebody else. A target spirit may use up to 2 of their slow powers as if they were fast powers this turn. Now, this does cost 1. However, you need to be in pretty good conjunction with your partner, with your teammate, to really utilize this power well. This can be a big deal to manipulate the board, to attack towns before they get a chance to grow in the invader's turn. So this can be a very good power to use alongside the other player. Now let's talk about our third card, Shatter Homesteads. Shatter Homesteads is an awesome card where it is great at the beginning of the game. It is a slow action, but remember, with a purple, which it is a purple and an orange, you can use this as a fast action. This lets you within 2 spaces of a ritual site, one with 2 of your presence on it. You can immediately destroy a town. Now, that's very important that you can do it before the invaders get a chance to build, reinforce, attack the lands. You also add a fear, but the fear is kind of secondary to the actual getting rid of one of these towns. It can be very, very beneficial to a settler that just built a town to immediately destroy the town with maybe a Dahan on it. Then the Dahan can wipe out that settler. This is a very great early game card that's going to be your bread and butter to see if you can't pick off an early town at the beginning of the game. Now let's talk about the last card. This card is very, very interesting and tough to play at the beginning. Raging Storm, within 1 space of a presence that you have, 1 damage to each invader. It can do great, to pick off a settler, but you really need to do it in conjunction with another person. If the other person can do 1 damage to a town, or maybe 2 to a city, or maybe 1 onesie twosie here, this can really stack up too. At the beginning of the game, you're going to have a hard time playing this. It's really tough to pay 3 energy to want to pick off a single settler. However, remember, you can do this before the invader's turn, so this can be a good tool to pick off a settler before it gets to build that town. The problem is it does cost 3. However, it is our only source of blue for these later stages of the innate powers. So if we don't pick up any power cards that can give us extra blue, we may be in kind of a pickle, and this may be our saving grace. But it does cost 3, and like I said before, we don't get a whole lot of power until we start ramping up, and maybe 3 turns in before we're comfortable playing this about every other turn. So a little bit of an overview about this spirit. Hopefully you got a good sense of kind of the starting play. It's great at the beginning. It's kind of good beginning mid-game player. What it can't really do successfully is destroy whole cities and towns when it's really clumped together. We do have this damage all invaders. What it is good at is picking these things off before they get to build. And that's the cool part about this spirit is as an early to mid-game kind of spirit, to pick these off, to be able to move to hand quickly. Remember, your energy is going to kind of be low, and that's why this isn't a super end-game spirit, because we don't just have all that energy to spare until it gets later in the game, where hopefully both spirits are pretty powerful. But as an early mid-game spirit, picking off the town, picking off these settlers, moving the Dahan, you really want to get the presence out when you can. I wouldn't go down too far into the cards played until you do a few regrowths. Maybe stick with 3 for a while, because you'll really need these energy. Unless you do gain power cards, you can gain a whole bunch of zeros and hope that you can just play a whole bunch of cards. Choose which ones you want before or after due to your swiftness of lightning, your innate power. And I don't know, this spirit is kind of the low complexity but middle of the road as far as how I like it. And stick around for a little bit of bonus of what they give you in Jagged Edge for a couple different aspects. Now they do give you a few extra different innate powers you can use. So these will replace your innate powers. So later in the game, where these innate powers would be destroy a city, destroy a town, which is awesome just for a slow power, which remember can be used as a fast power with your swiftness of lightning. Replace those. So one of them is more based on fear. and adding the strife tokens. Now the strife tokens prevent one invader from attacking the lands, which can be pretty good if they're put on cities or towns. And it really adds a lot of fear cards in these. I think that one's okay. It does increase the complexity, and to me it's kind of tougher later in the game with Pandemonium as the innate power. So another one is the aspect of the wind, replaces the swiftness of lightning, like I said with the other one before. This one really is just, it's used in conjunction with the other person, a lot of things to be able to manipulate the board with the other person. This one does increase the complexity, as in it doesn't add a whole lot of fear, it just gives you a little bit of control aspect that you may be missing with the base set. And the last aspect is immense. This one's a little bit tough. You gain more energy, but it'll cost you more card plays in the end. So once again, 3 different ways to play. Immense probably isn't my favorite, but if this one feels kind of stale after you've played a few times, you can definitely add these if you have the Jagged Earth expansion. But as a whole, I think this spirit is pretty interesting, pretty fun. I think the special rule of being able to play before or after the turn really helps out. Pretty straightforward spirit, that's why it's a low complexity. However, I think it does have longevity, especially in the early to mid game. So hopefully you like this video, and this was my Spirit Island Sunday for Lightning Swift Strike, and until next time.